a window to the heart. In the affluent neighborhood of Clifton Heights stood a grand mansion, boasting marble floors, chandeliers, and sprawling gardens. Inside this imposing structure lived Naina, a 45-year-old woman whose life seemed picture-perfect to the world. She was married to Asif, a successful businessman whose wealth and influence were admired by many. Yet, behind the tall walls and luxurious facade of the mansion, Naina's heart harbored an ache that no riches could heal. Asif was always away, engrossed in meetings, deals, and endless phone calls. He provided everything material that Naina could ask for, but not the one thing she craved: his presence. Their conversations had become brief exchanges, often revolving around household matters. Her days passed in solitude, the silence of the house amplifying her loneliness. Naina had once been a lively woman with a passion for painting and music. Now, her vibrant spirit seemed to have faded, weighed down by years of neglect. She often found herself standing by the large bay windows of her bedroom, staring at the world outside. She would watch children laughing, couples strolling hand in hand, and neighbors sharing a moment of connection. One rainy afternoon, as the wind rustled the leaves and droplets painted the glass, Naina's eyes caught sight of a young man in the garden. He was watering the plants, his movements deliberate and rhythmic. His name was Aamir, one of the household staff, newly hired to tend to the mansion's extensive gardens. Aamir was 35, with sharp features, kind eyes, and a calm demeanor that radiated warmth. At first, their interactions were limited to polite nods and brief exchanges about the plants. But as the days passed, Naina found herself drawn to Aamir's simplicity and genuine nature. One day, as she stood by the window, watching him tend to a row of roses, he looked up and smiled. That simple gesture, so sincere and unassuming, stirred something in her heart. The next day, she decided to step out into the garden. "You take such good care of these plants," she said, her voice soft yet tinged with curiosity. Aamir looked up from his work and smiled again. "Plants respond to care, madam. They bloom when they feel loved." His words lingered in Naina's mind. They began talking more often, their conversations evolving from plants to life, dreams, and everything in between. Naina found herself laughing for the first time in years, sharing stories from her youth while Aamir listened attentively. One evening, as the setting sun bathed the garden in hues of gold, Naina invited Aamir to join her for tea. Hesitant at first, Aamir agreed, sensing the loneliness in her eyes. They sat in the gazebo, sipping tea and sharing biscuits. It became a ritual of sorts, quiet evenings filled with laughter, stories, and the comfort of each other's company. Soon, Naina began to look forward to these moments. She started baking treats for their tea time, learning Aamir's preferences, and surprising him with his favorite snacks. In return, Aamir shared his knowledge of gardening, teaching her how to care for the plants she loved. Their connection deepened, but it remained innocent, a bond born out of shared loneliness and mutual respect. Aamir admired Naina's grace and resilience, while she found solace in his unspoken kindness. Meanwhile, Asif remained oblivious to the change in his wife's demeanor. His late nights and frequent travels kept him away, and he never questioned her newfound joy. One day, while watering the plants together, Naina turned to Aamir and said, "You've brought life back into this house, Aamir. I don't feel alone anymore." Aamir smiled, his eyes filled with understanding. "And you've given me a reason to feel at home here, madam." "Thank you." Their companionship became the anchor Naina had been yearning for. Though unorthodox, their relationship filled the void in her heart, reminding her that happiness could be found in the most unexpected places. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation, now echoed with laughter and warmth. Naina found herself cherishing life again, her days no longer consumed by loneliness. And while the world outside might never understand, she knew that in Aamir, she had found a friend, a confidant, and perhaps the missing piece of her soul. This story portrays a bond of understanding and emotional connection. Let me know if you'd like to refine or expand any part. A love that bloomed in silence. The soft glow of the evening sun filtered through the curtains as Naina sat by the window, gazing at Aamir in the garden. His hands worked deftly as he planted new flowers in the rich soil. Over time, their connection had grown deeper, more profound. What had started as casual conversations over tea had blossomed into moments filled with unspoken feelings. One day, after their evening tea in the garden, Naina hesitated before speaking. "Aamir, the evenings feel so much warmer when you're around," she said softly. Aamir looked at her, his eyes filled with something that words could not capture. "I feel the same, madam. Your company has brought light into my life." That night, the rain began to pour, thunder rumbling in the distance. Naina stood by the large windows, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. Suddenly, a soft knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Aamir, carrying a tray with 2 cups of hot tea. "I thought you might like some tea, madam," he said, smiling. "Stay," Naina said after a moment. "Let's enjoy the rain together." They sat in the dimly lit living room, the sound of the rain creating a cocoon around them. As the night grew colder, Aamir fetched a shawl and wrapped it gently around Naina's shoulders. She felt a warmth she hadn't known in years, not from the shawl, but from his care. The lines between employer and employee blurred further as their bond deepened. They began spending more time together, sharing quiet moments and stolen glances. One evening, as they stood in the garden, a light breeze carrying the scent of roses, Aamir reached out and held Naina's hand. She didn't pull away. Instead, she looked into his eyes, seeing a reflection of her own feelings. One rainy evening, the power went out, plunging the mansion into darkness. Naina, uneasy in the silence, called out for Aamir. He came quickly, holding a lantern that cast a soft glow around them. "Stay here tonight," Naina said, her voice barely above a whisper. They sat together, talking late into the night. The conversation eventually gave way to a comfortable silence as they lay down side by side. Naina found herself drifting off to sleep, her head resting lightly against Aamir's shoulder. The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting golden light across the room. As they woke, a sense of calm washed over them. Aamir, ever respectful, excused himself to prepare breakfast. Later that day, Naina decided to show her appreciation for his companionship by baking him a cake, a small gesture that spoke volumes about their growing bond. Their moments together were filled with tenderness and respect, building a love that neither had expected, but both deeply cherished. This version of the story reflects emotional intimacy and connection while remaining respectful and appropriate. Let me know if you'd like further changes. A love that defied boundaries. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between Naina and Aamir grew stronger. Their companionship was no longer just a remedy for loneliness. It became the anchor of their existence. For the first time in years, Naina felt alive. Aamir, too, found purpose and solace in the warmth of her presence. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson, Naina decided to step out of the confines of the mansion with Aamir. "Let's go out," she said, her voice filled with an unusual excitement. Aamir hesitated. "But madam, what if someone sees us?" Naina smiled softly. "Sometimes, Aamir, you have to let the world be. Let's live for ourselves, just this once." They ventured into the quiet streets, eventually finding a small cafe tucked away from the bustling city. It was a simple place, far removed from the grandeur Naina was accustomed to, but it felt perfect. They shared a quiet meal, talking and laughing like old friends. Naina marveled at the simplicity of it all. No extravagance, no pretense, just 2 souls finding happiness in each other's company. Back at the mansion, their routine grew more intimate. Aamir began helping Naina rediscover her passions. One day, he found her old sketchbooks in the attic and encouraged her to start painting again. She hesitated at first, but soon found herself lost in the strokes of her brush, her artwork brimming with the joy and colors Aamir had brought into her life. Their evenings were spent together in the garden, under the starry sky. One such night, as they sat on the bench surrounded by the fragrance of jasmine, Aamir took Naina's hand in his. "You've taught me what it means to care for someone," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "And you've reminded me what it feels like to be seen, Aamir," she replied, her eyes glistening. Their closeness deepened, and one evening, Naina invited Aamir to her sitting room after dinner. They talked late into the night, their conversations shifting from lighthearted banter to profound confessions. Exhausted yet content, they both fell asleep on the couch, their presence comforting one another. As dawn broke, Naina woke first. Watching Aamir sleep peacefully, she felt a wave of gratitude. She quietly left the room to prepare tea, wanting to surprise him. When Aamir woke, he found her setting the tray on the table, her smile lighting up the room. The days that followed were filled with quiet moments of affection, shared meals, walks in the garden, and small gestures that spoke volumes. One rainy morning, Aamir found Naina in the garden, standing in the rain with her arms outstretched. He joined her, and for a moment, they simply stood there, letting the rain wash away their fears. The happiness they found in each other's company was undeniable, but it wasn't without its challenges. Asif, still engrossed in his business empire, remained oblivious to the changes in his wife. However, Naina couldn't shake the feeling that their newfound happiness was fragile, like a delicate flower blooming in a storm. One evening, Aamir broached the topic. "Madam, what if he finds out?" Naina sighed, her expression troubled. "I don't know, Aamir. All I know is that what we have feels real, and I don't want to let it go." Aamir nodded, his resolve strengthening. "Then we'll take it one day at a time." Together, they chose to embrace their connection, cherishing each stolen moment. Naina found herself painting brighter pictures, her canvases reflecting the joy and hope Aamir had brought into her life. Though their love existed in the shadows, it was as real as the stars in the night sky, constant, unwavering, and eternal. This sequel keeps the romance tender and meaningful, focusing on their emotional journey and shared moments. Let me know if you'd like to explore specific aspects further.